You're listening to This Week in Big Sky Football, a comprehensive look at all this week's action in Big Sky Football. Now here's your host, Scott Gerard.
Welcome on into the second edition of This Week in Big Sky Football for the 2018 season. Week 3 is coming up, and Big Sky Conference has been putting on some great performances on the field. I'm Scott Gerard alongside Lloyd Cole. We got a great show lined up for you today. Eastern Washington head coach Aaron Best, Weber State head coach Jay Hill will join us. Also, Northern Colorado wide receiver Alex Wesley. Then in our final segment, Craig Haley from Stats will be with us as well. Time to recap the games from this weekend. Montana earned the 32-point win over Drake at home to improve its record to 2-0. Idaho defeated Western New Mexico 56-10 to pick up its first win in its return to the FCS. Eastern Washington beat Northern Arizona 31-26 in a non-conference game, while Weber State topped Cal Poly 24-17 on the road. UC Davis ended the night for the Big Sky with a win over San Diego 54-21. Conference has 4 schools that are still undefeated on the season: Eastern Washington, UC Davis, Montana, and Idaho State. Big Sky has 5 schools ranked in the top 25 for the first time since the 2016 season. Leading the way, Eastern Washington ranked number 5 and 6, followed by Weber State at 11 and 13, Montana at 15 and 16, Northern Arizona at 20 and 22, and new to the top 25 is UC Davis at number 23. So with that, let's go out to the phone lines and welcome in the head coach at Eastern Washington, Aaron Best. Coach, how are you?
Good, Scott. Thank you.
Hey, you're in year number 2. What's it like after getting that first year under your belt and coming into year number 2 as a head coach? If things kind of, you talk about for players, things kind of slow down a little bit on the field. Does it slow down a little bit as a coach?
It does at times. I've kind of used the analogy first year and the first go round as kind of a fire hose.
Yeah.
At times with a ton of pressure inside the hose in terms of putting out many fires, some big, some small, some medium. This year it's interesting because with the continuity of the staff, bringing everybody back, a ton of seniors, 28 is the number, and all factor in different ways. Not everybody's on the field at the same time, obviously, but it's kind of like the hose hooked up to the house, the faucet, where the faucet's always on, but you got the handle where if you need it, you spray it, and the water's always on. You don't necessarily, the faucet's never turned off. The water's always available, but fires are always going to be put out no matter who you are as a head coach. But the smaller the better, and we've done a good job kind of containing some of the things that last year we ran into as a first-year staff, and so we've kind of been able to troubleshoot a little bit easier, a little bit more efficiently. Guys are buying into the entire message, the entire staff, and with change, comes questions. No matter who you are, no matter what you are, no matter what environment you're in, where they're gonna be cautiously optimistic, even though I'm an old hat and a same face in a different position, and our coaches and staff have done a great job, student athletes included, to get to where we are. We still got a long way to go.
Well, I'll tell you what, you get off to a great start. You go to Flagstaff, beat the Lumberjacks. Talk about the keys to that win, because that certainly seemed impressive.
Well, we got off to a good start. There was an errant snap the first play of the game, which allowed us to be in a second and 30-plus situation on defense, which always helps. So it wasn't anything we induced, but we ended up getting great field position in the first series. When you're on the road playing against a great 2017 playoff team, you will always take that. We scored on the first possession, ended up getting up 14-0, and then I think one of the things that is hardest in sports is when you have a lead as the game goes on, maintaining the lead. It's easy to be behind and know what you need to do. I think it's a touch harder when you're on the road against a formidable opponent and maintaining your lead and extending your lead. So the players did a great job not playing tight, not playing not to lose. We played to win. Coach Reeder called a great game and was aggressive in his approach, no matter if it was first quarter or fourth quarter. And there was a lot of adversity in those games, and there always will be when you face a good product and you're on the road. When you're traveling 60 players, I mean, we got to be all hands on deck. And so in those games are always going to come down to the last 15 minutes, and our guys did a good job making sure that we continued to pound the emphasis of the week home and ended up getting out of Flagstaff with a win.
We talked about rankings. You guys are certainly up there, but it's interesting from Bo Baldwin to yourself. You've really developed a culture there of winning at Eastern Washington. Do you worry about stuff getting to guys' heads, or at this point is the culture to the point where these guys expect to be well and they're still able to take care of business?
Well, I tell you, you talk about wins. North Dakota State is a prime example. They've won a lot of games, a lot of championships over a lot of years. And so, again, I think it's something that the outside world takes for granted, that people expect to win when you win. We're much of the same, but I think it's a lot harder to stay on top than to get on top. And so that's always kind of the challenge, week in and week out, year in and year out, trying to develop new challenges, leaning on the players or the units that you think are going to help you most in game situations. And again, like you said, you mentioned the culture. The culture has been built here for quite some time. So, when we call ourselves a program, programs are going to stay afloat for a long period of time. Programs don't have 2 years of success and 3 years of non-success. And so that foundation's been built, but we will continue to build on the foundation in areas of need as we go forward. But, obviously players make plays. We have a ton of talent on this team, ton of experience, and a ton of seniors, which help matters. And we're in year 2, so there's a lot of variables at the end of the day to score more points, to have sustained success, but that's all been built by Coach Baldwin, Coach Wolf, Coach Kramer, Coach Zorn. So we've been around for a while. We continue to build on that and try to make as much noise as we can in the upcoming weeks.
This weekend, you go to Wazoo. You take on Washington State. You got them 2 years ago in your last meeting. I imagine you got a lot of guys on that team that know about winning at the FBS level and have played well in those games. What's the message of the team going into a game like that?
Well, the message doesn't change. Much like, the 11 games you're guaranteed, you prepare for games the same way, no matter if they're home, away, league, non-league, FBS, FCS. That shouldn't trigger any different preparation. A lot of the guys, like you mentioned, Scott, have played in Pullman and had success in Pullman in 2016. We've had a lot of success over the years in those, FBS games, if you will. And I think the main mentality that Coach Baldwin instilled from the time he took over the reins here in 2008 is we're not going in scared. We're not going to milk the clock, the play clock. We're not going to try to shorten the game. We're going to worry about us, concentrate on us, and whether you're down 21-0 in Montlake a few years back and end up making a game of it, or you have a good run at Oregon State and Corvallis a few years back with Vernon Adams at the helm. That's the mentality we want to take into any game, and it doesn't matter what logo we're facing or what venue we're in. And so I think that's the biggest hurdle we had to overcome in those FBS games over the years, because I think sometimes we went in trying to make it a game, and we took the moral victory, and we're okay with the moral victories, and we don't believe in moral victories. You either win or you lose, but it's about us. It's about what we can take advantage of in that 60 minutes of football, and if we leave it all out there and we give it our best shot and we come up short, we can feel good about the day, not about the outcome. But you're not always going to play your A game on Saturday. We just hope we get as close to the A game as we can.
Coach, always fun to catch up with you. Congratulations with 1 year under your belt. Looking forward to talking to you again here very soon.
I appreciate it. Thanks, guys.
You got it. Aaron Best, head coach at Eastern Washington, here on This Week in Big Sky. Remember, the Eagles play Washington State Saturday at 5 o'clock Pacific time on the Pac-12 Network. Take a short break, come back with segment number 2. We'll chat with Weber State head coach Jay Hill here on This Week in Big Sky Football. Pluto TV is your one-stop shop for Big Sky action. The leading free internet television service in America will stream live sporting events, including up to 700 football, men's and women's basketball, volleyball, and selected soccer, softball, and track and field events. Simply go to Pluto TV to find games from several different sports. Pluto TV is your one-stop shop for all Big Sky action.
Welcome back to This Week in Big Sky Football.
Welcome back. Segment number 2 here on This Week in Big Sky Football. Remember, Pluto TV is your leading free internet television service in America. As part of the deal, the Big Sky Conference will air all of its streamed sporting events on Pluto TV for free, including up to 700 football, men's and women's basketball, volleyball, and selected soccer, softball, and track and field events. Simply go to Watch Big Sky on Pluto TV to find the games from several different sports. All right, let's go out to the phones. Welcome in good friend of the program, Weber State head coach Jay Hill. Coach, how are you?
Absolutely, Scotty. How are you?
I'm doing well. Hey, so before we get started, I want to back up a little bit because I talked to your athletic director, Jerry Bovee, about this. But take me through, and I know you've told this story 100 times, so I apologize. But take me through the one-handed snag at Wrigley Field, and how cool was that?
Okay. So we were in the Chicago area visiting my parents. And I guess if you're in that area, you got to catch a Cubs game.
Yep.
So I drive over there. I take my wife and all my kids, and my boy and I are sitting on the third base line, and my wife and the girls are on the first base line because we couldn't find 6 tickets together. And all my little boy kept talking about is, Dad, we got to catch a foul ball. We got to catch a foul ball. But we were so low that the chances of really getting a foul ball were pretty slim to none.
Yeah.
And so about the fourth inning, we move over to the other side because there was 2 empty seats by my wife. And we sit down, we're watching the game, and I told my wife, I was like, man, Jacob wants to catch a foul ball so bad. And he was just dying over there on the other baseline or sideline. And right when I said it, I'm not kidding, the next pitch, bam, the batter hits it right to me. It was the very next pitch. It was the craziest thing.
So, we're excited to chat with you because your Wildcats are coming off a huge non-conference win against Cal Poly. That's not an easy team to play. How important is it to get that early road victory, and what kind of momentum does that bring to your team?
Well, I thought it was huge because, one, they're really good at home, and they're good early in the year. Just as they're healthy, the triple option, when those teams are healthy, it's just coming at you so fast and clean. And so to get down there and get a win against that team, I thought was very big. For a young team, and we are young this year, for those guys to go out on their first road trip this year and pull off a victory, I thought was big. And our key right now, as we're trying to figure out this season, we just got to find ways to win as we get better. And if we can continue to get better each week, I like where we're going to be.
You know, I know that special teams is near and dear to your heart. You've got two special special teamers in sophomores Rashid Shaheed and Trey Tuttle. What do those two players bring to your unit, and how important are they to your team?
All those guys are phenomenal. Rashid Shaheed, we put him back in the game last week. He got dinged up in the Utah game on a kick return. We put him back in the game last week, and the first one he caught, he went for 40 yards, almost broke it for a touchdown. The kicker got him. And then, Trey Tuttle's outstanding. The guy was an All-American last year as a freshman. I can't say enough about him and his consistency. And then, to add to that, Doug Lloyd, our punter this year, has just been phenomenal. In that Utah game, he was one of our best players in that game. And, we're net punting well over 40 yards right now, and he's just done a phenomenal job. So it's something that we take great pride in, and Coach Swan, our special teams coordinator, I think is the best in the country. He's just got those guys each week ready to roll.
We record this show out of Salt Lake City, so I'm aware of some of the kids that have come up through the high school ranks, and I remember thinking this kid, Josh Davis, wasn't getting as much love as he deserves from a lot of other schools, but you saw him, you recruited him, you brought him to Weber State, and he's now your FCS Stats National Freshman of the Week with that performance last week. Just how talented is he, and how important is he to your team?
Well, he's an important piece to our team, and quite frankly would have been last year, except the first game, he takes the opening kickoff of the season out 50 yards and ends up pulling a hamstring, so we don't have him for the next 7 weeks or so. And then at that point, it just didn't make any sense to redshirt him. We didn't have the same rule last year that we do this year. Yeah. And so we ended up redshirting him. And then we've been needing to get him going, and last week with Trayshawn Garrett going down in the Utah game was a perfect opportunity for us to do that. And, he had a breakout game, and he showed exactly what it was for the reason that we recruited him. And, I'm just expecting him to have one heck of a career here.
What do you expect out of the showdown with South Dakota out of the Missouri Valley?
Well, this is a big game. This is two nationally ranked teams. I think both teams are coming off great success from last year and still trying to find their way this year with new teams. But they're very good. They almost beat K-State the first week. In fact, they had the lead, 12-point lead in the fourth quarter, and just found a way to slip away. But this is a dang good team coming in here, and we're going to have to play our best football. We know that. And like I say, the key right now is for us to continue to find ways to get better as we win. We just got to find ways to win as we get better.
Coach, always fun to catch up with you. Let's do it again soon, all right?
Sounds good. Thanks, Scotty.
You got it. Weber State head coach Jay Hill. We'll take a quick break, come back, and chat with Northern Colorado senior wide receiver Alex Wesley in our next segment here on This Week in Big Sky Football.
Welcome back to This Week in Big Sky Football.
Welcome back. You're listening to another edition of This Week in Big Sky Football. Time for your Root Sports Players of the Week. Offensive Player of the Week award goes to Gage Gabrud, senior for the Eastern Washington Eagles. They get a 31-26 victory over Northern Arizona on the road. Had 402 yards of total offense, 18 of 33 passing, had 4 touchdowns, no interceptions. For the second straight week, Montana's Dante Olson named the Big Sky Root Sports Defensive Player of the Week. 16 tackles, a Big Sky best this season, by the way. Olson also had 3.5 tackles for losses, a forced fumble, a pass breakup, and 2 sacks. He was also named the FCS Stats National Defensive Player of the Week. And UC Davis's Daniel Whelan superb punting skills on Saturday helped UC Davis pick up a 2-0 start this season with a victory over San Diego 54-21. Recorded 7 punts for 285 yards, including a career high of 58. All right, remember, Root Sports is your official television partner of the Big Sky. So let's go out to the phones. Welcome in Northern Colorado wide receiver Alex Wesley. Alex, how you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing well. You're a two-sport athlete, football and track and field. How is it managing those two sports?
When I first got here as a freshman, it was a pretty tough deal. But over the years, the coaches kind of helped me out and just maturing and figuring it out as I go. Kind of made it easier this past year, and I was able to have some success on the track and on the football field.
Yeah, success is putting it mildly. You're the Big Sky Sprint champion, NCAA outdoor regional competitor. Your specialty is that 200 and 400 meters. How much does, that track and field experience and the work you put in there, how much does that help you on the football field?
Like you said, it's the work ethics. Just when other guys are done and their season is over, they go into off season and they have some time off. But my season is just starting, going into track. So just putting in that extra work and obviously the speed carryover onto the football field, I think has really helped me in the long run.
You've got back-to-back 100-plus yard receiving games to kick off the season. What's been the key to that success and the key to your offensive success overall?
We got our quarterback, Jacob Nip, back, and me and him have a pretty good chemistry. And then, we got our O-line working this year. So, just getting in and getting that run game going and then opening me up over the top has just, helped me to get to those 100-yard games.
You're originally from Texas. What brought you to Northern Colorado?
Coach Armour. He's from Dallas, and he recruited me out of high school. He came to my school a couple times, came to my house, and he convinced me to come up here. They told me they'd let me run track and play football, and that's what I was really looking for. So
that sealed the deal for you, huh?
Right.
Nice. So how hard is it playing so far from home? Are your parents able to, or your family able to see you play at all?
They come up to as many games as they can. I kind of like being out here, getting to be an adult. So, I think it's fun. It's definitely a lot different than Dallas, but I've enjoyed my time here.
What's your major? What do you plan on doing when you just finally decide to hang up the cleats?
So my major is business management. I actually am finishing that up right now. But when I'm done, I don't know. I haven't really thought that far yet.
I like it. Hey, this weekend, you and your teammates host Sacramento State. What's it like playing the Hornets? What do you expect this weekend?
It's always a good game when we play them. Last year, I had a pretty good game against them, so we just look to come down and get our first win of the season at home. So it should be fun.
Northern Colorado will welcome in Sacramento State Saturday at 2 o'clock. Alex, we appreciate your time. Thanks for joining us.
Yep, thank you.
All right, when we come back, it's the final segment of the show. We'll chat with Stats Craig Haley. We'll also take note of where you can find all the Big Sky games on Pluto TV this weekend. Stay with us. You're listening to This Week in Big Sky Football. Big Sky fans, all 11 sports games are available on WatchBigSky.com and Pluto TV. 11 Sports is available on various cable, satellite, telco, and OTT providers. Make Big Sky Football a part of your weekend by going to 11sportsusa.com/where to watch to find 11 sports in your area. Again, for all the action, go to 11sportsusa.com/where to watch.
Welcome back to This Week in Big Sky Football.
All right, final segment of the show. You're listening to another edition of This Week in Big Sky Football. Remember, the Big Sky will air 3 games on Pluto TV this weekend. Northern Colorado kicks things off as it hosts Sacramento State at 2 o'clock. That's Mountain Time. While Portland State hosts the College of Idaho at 2 p.m. Pacific Time. Weber State will take on South Dakota. That game at 6 o'clock in Mountain on the final game of and in the final game on Pluto TV of the night. All right, so with that, let's go out to the phone lines. Welcome in FCS Senior Editor of Stats, the man, the myth, the legend. You know him and love him, Craig Haley. Craig, how are you?
I'm doing great. You know, I watched Pluto TV last weekend.
There you go. There's a lot of good games there, too, and some that we'll talk about here in a bit. But let's talk about the Big Sky. They've got 5 teams ranked in the top 25 for the first time since 2016. Is this a sign of things to come for the conference? This could be a banner year.
No doubt. I mean, 5 is tremendous. And plus you have, some other teams right there receiving votes right outside the top 25, Sac State, Montana State, Idaho. I mean, so there are possibilities as well. And then, if Southern Utah ever gets together, I think 5 is great. I mean, to get even more, it's probably going to have to happen in the next couple of weeks because once the Big Sky teams start to play each other regularly, obviously the team records will even out some. But, you're going to have some staples, like an Eastern Washington's going to be there the whole time. So, yeah, it's a great start for the Big Sky.
The newcomer to the group, though, is UC Davis. What's your take on the 2-0 Aggies?
Sure. I mean, and yeah, they've moved into the poll. I mean, they really should have been there after the San Jose State win. I think they're just a tremendous team. I mean, we all knew about Keelan Doss, Jake Mayer, going into the year. We didn't necessarily know about Ulonzo Gilliam because he had redshirted, and we probably couldn't be certain that the defense would be improved, but they are, especially against the run. I think with this team, Coach Hawkins just seems so relaxed as a coach, and I think that seeps into his team. I mean, it has an effect. I mean, coming up, Stanford's going to be a tough matchup, but that next game, at home against, an Idaho team that would really have to win that one, I think that's a marquee game ahead. So, I think success is going to follow this year.
We had a chance to chat with Jay Hill earlier in the program, and he talked about that South Dakota game that they've got coming up this weekend. And I think we all saw South Dakota. In fact, it looked like they were going to be able to hold on and get a win over K-State in Manhattan. But still a really good team. 2 top 25 teams going head-to-head. What are your thoughts on that showdown?
Yeah, that's the Big Sky game that I'm looking forward to the most this weekend. I mean, I think the jury's still out a little bit on Weber State because, the quarterback play hasn't been there yet, and they did lose some big-time seniors. It's going to be hard for Weber to match offenses with South Dakota, but they are at home. They have quality defense, quality linemen in the trenches that you have to have when you're playing, Missouri Valley teams. To me, I just think it's a toss-up kind of game. I think it's the most interesting this weekend in the Big Sky Missouri Valley Challenge Cup.
Yeah, we'll conclude this weekend. You got 3 more games. Missouri Valley currently leads 3-2. If you had to pick a conference, who do you think is going to come out on top when this thing's all said and done?
Certainly, it's been fun that the challenge was created last year, even though that the rivalries go farther back. I think a 4-4 split would be great for the Big Sky because, for your conference to win it all this weekend, you'd have to sweep all 3 games, which is very difficult to do against the Valley. I think you definitely have to favor Northern Arizona over Missouri State. The Weber State game and the Montana game. I think they're toss-ups. So I think a 4-4 split would be terrific. At the same time, you never know. I mean, it's been a great series so far, and hopefully it plays out that way this weekend.
We talked to Aaron Best, head coach at Eastern Washington, earlier in the program as well. Eastern Washington looks like they're going to continue to roll with Gage Gabrud and some of the weapons they have. Are you surprised that they're continuing to keep that culture rolling, even though Bo Baldwin left a couple of years ago?
Well, they're a motivated team, as we know. I mean, to not make the playoffs last year, and I think they probably should have with their resume. It's a tremendous program. I mean, you grow up out there, you think Eastern Washington, you think red turf. I mean, that's just a selling point right there. I think Aaron Best is so, been in the program so long that it's no surprise that he's kept it rolling. I think it's interesting how he's really changed the dynamic a little bit and really has committed to the run and gotten it going, and even more so this year than last. So not surprising. It always comes down to their defense, holding up, and I think it's a better defense than a year ago. So, no, they're the team to beat in the Big Sky, no doubt.
They beat Washington State a couple of years ago. They're there again. Do you give them any chance at Wazoo?
Well, you have to think Mike Leach isn't going to let his team overlook the Eagles this weekage. I give them a chance, but, because they had that win, I think Washington State's going to be focused on this one. But, Gage Gabrud can take you up and down the field. I think it'll be high scoring. I think it'll be exciting. You got to give the Eagles a shot here. But, again, Washington State has that little bit of a revenge factor going into this one.
No doubt. Should be a fun one. There's no doubt. Hey, Craig, we certainly appreciate your time. Always fun catching up with you, and look forward to doing it again next week.
All the time. I love it, Scott. Thank you.
You got it. Remember your schedule of games coming up this weekend. On Friday, September 14th, Brown will be at Cal Poly. Then on Saturday, 23rd-ranked UC Davis at Stanford. Wagner at Montana State. Also 22nd-ranked Northern Arizona at Missouri State. The College of Idaho will be at Portland State. Sacramento State at Northern Colorado. 15th-ranked Montana will be at Western Illinois. Idaho State at Cal. And then, of course, should be an interesting showdown on the Pac-12 Network. Eastern Washington at Washington State. Then South Dakota takes on Weber State, and probably the best game of the day when you look at rankings. That game, of course, available on Pluto TV. And then also on the Pac-12 Network, Southern Utah will hit the road to take on Arizona. Big thanks for everyone who helped us out on today's show, including Eastern Washington's Aaron Best, Weber State's Jay Hill, Northern Colorado's Alex Wesley, and Stats' Craig Haley. Big thanks to Lloyd Cull for producing, and our executive producer, Denise Thompson. I'm Scott Gerard. Enjoy the games this week, and we'll be back next week for another edition of This Week in Big Sky Football.